learn some Chassidus today. Always when we come to Pesach, it's always good to learn chapter 47 of Tanya. We've done this many times, and it's never enough. Now, the Alter Rebbe looks at the Yetzias Mitzrayim as the Alter Rebbe looks at the concept of going out of Egypt. We say it in our Seder, B'chol Dor v'dor chayev adam liris atmeki liyot Mitzrayim. Every generation, the Alter Rebbe adds every day, but in the song, in the statement, you're going to stay at the Seder, you're going to say B'chol Dor v'dor in every generation. In every generation, a person is obligated to regard himself as if it's that he had that day come out of Egypt. It's interesting, the expression in the statement of the sages that he has to feel as if he's that day gone out of Egypt. Right? We're talking which day? We're talking about 3,300 years ago. That the Jewish people, more than 3,300 years ago, the Jewish people went out of Egypt. So what is the meaning of that you have to feel like that day? That's a long time ago. But the point is that the neshama, over here we're talking about a spiritual, there's two things. There's a physical redemption, which the Jewish people are waiting for the last couple of thousand years, that there should be the coming of Mashiach, and going out of Golus and going out of exile, the Jewish nation at large and the world, the whole world should go out of Golus, Mitzvah Hashem. And then there's a concept of where a Jew feels that today he's going out of Golus, his personal Golus, his personal exile. And what gives you the power to today go out of Golus? What gives you the power to go out of Golus, to go to exile today? To go out of your constraints and your confinements and whatever you have today is because your neshama went out of Golus when he went out of Mitzrayim. 600,000 souls went out of Mitzrayim, and when they went out, this 600,000 souls, which are the general souls, which my soul comes from, that neshama went out of Mitzrayim that day, 3,000 years ago, and because of that redemption of those 600,000 souls, that's why my neshama today is not in Golus, is not in exile, and it has the capability to go out of its constraints. And this is emphasized, in essence, to us every Seder night that we come together. We emphasize not just something that happened 3,000 years ago, but we're something that because it happened 3,000 years ago, that's why we can do it today to go out of Golus. Because if it wouldn't have happened, that's what he said. We say in the God, in the first statement of God, by the statement of Avada Mayinu, after the Manashtana. We say, even we're all smart and we're all geniuses, we're obligated to talk about Yetzias Mitzrayim. Because if there wasn't Yetzias Mitzrayim, we would be still in Golus today. We'll still be in Mitzrayim today. And what is the meaning? Who said we'll be in Mitzrayim? That we, not per se, maybe we wouldn't be in the physical Mitzrayim, but we would be in Mitzrayim. We would be in Egypt. We would be in slavery. We would be in the concept of a constraint that we could never go out of. And therefore, the Alter Rebbe adds the words in every day. That every day, you should know there's a mitzvah, there's called the Sheish Zechires, the 6 remembrance that we say every day in our davening. At the end of davening, there are 6 remembrance that a Jew has to remember every day. And one of those is the Yetzias Mitzrayim, the going out of Egypt. And we have to remember when we start the day that whatever happens in the day, it could be maybe our bodies are constrained, but our souls are unconstrained. And even if we have physical handicaps and physical situations that doesn't allow us to do certain things, doesn't mean that our souls are at all in captivity. And the Eibishter still gives us capabilities because the soul is not confined only to one part of the body. or to one situation. The soul can work through many, many concepts in the body. There's a rabbi today in California who has ALS, Chabad rabbi actually, Rabbi Yitzi. Maybe we should give him a refuah shalema. And yes, yeah, I get his. He writes now with his eyes, and he communicates with thousands and hundreds of thousands of people through his eyes. And he, in essence, has not, even though he's there couldn't be a greater exile to this person than what he's in right now. There couldn't be a greater concept of exile for this young man. He's Pashut's laying there in total confinement. He can't move. Has no power over any part of his guf, of his body. The only thing he has the freedom is his eyes. And he continues to teach and continues to communicate and have relationships around the world with his eyes. That shows the freedom of the soul. The soul, until the person, that's the Gemara says, a person should realize until even a knife, munach al tzavarech, even if a knife is on your throat, you should never give up hope. A Jew should never give up hope. Why? Because there's no concept until a person passes away, chas v'shalom, then actually there's total freedom of the soul. But even as he has constraints in the body, still the soul has unlimited capabilities. And if you learn Tanya, this self-ansud is emphasized to us constantly, that one mitzvah is greater than all the spiritual worlds that were to come. So imagine if one mitzvah is greater than everything, how many mitzvahs you can do during the day. How many mitzvahs you can do, even in many constraints that you have. How many mitzvahs you could do. You have unlimited amount of mitzvahs that you can do. And therefore, you go out of Golus, go out of your exile, go out of your confinement, go out of your strangulation, and your depression, your unhappiness, etc., etc. So let's learn. This is a beautiful chapter. It's one chapter in Tanya. We've done this already a couple of times every year, so we can always learn it again and again.
Review.
Yeah, it's not review. It's like when I learn it, I learn like I never learned it before because I can't remember what I learned yesterday. So it's all right. In every generation and in every day, a person is obligated to regard himself as if he had that day come out of Egypt. This refers to the release of the divine soul from the confinements of the body. That's it. What means Yetzias Mitzrayim? Yetzias Mitzrayim. It's interesting that the Torah calls Egypt Mitzrayim. Mitzrayim doesn't call it Egypt. It's called Mitzrayim. That's the Hebrew word for it. The English word is Egypt, and the Hebrew word is Mitzrayim. There's no correlation between the English word and the Hebrew word. Mitzrayim means in Hebrew confinement. That's why, yeah.
I also learned that Meitzah is a word for limitation.
Limitation. So that's it. Any limitation a person puts upon himself is already a concept of slavery. It's the total opposite of freedom. The Eibishter God wanted a person to be free. Free choice. That's why the Rambam writes that a person, what makes up a human being different than any other animal in the world, is that he has free choice. He has total free choice to do good or to do bad. When a person says, I have lost my choice, then he's lost his humanity in a way. And therefore, that's why Gullus is the worst thing for a person, because you've lost, in essence, you confined yourself to loss of choice. And the truth is that there is a concept of Gullus of Yidden. Today, what's the goal? We can't do certain mitzvahs. We lost our choice to do mitzvahs. There are certain commandments we can't do. We don't have a Beis Hamikdash. So we can't do certain mitzvahs. You cannot do it, whatever. You have no choice in that. You have lost your choice. You can imagine there's hundreds of mitzvahs that we cannot do. Why? Because we don't have a Beis Hamikdash. We don't have a temple. So all what we're learning in this chitas these days, Mitzayda and all these karbanis, you learn about it, you can't do it. That's the reality. Why? Because it's taken away from you. To talk, there's certain things that were taken away there are certain things that are taken away from a person in many aspects of life, but still has it taken away the soul of Yiddishkeit because we can't do these mitzvahs? Has it stopped Judaism from being Jews in the world? No, because a Jew is happy that he can do one mitzvah. A Jew is satisfied he can do one mitzvah. We all self-understood want to do all 613 mitzvahs, but we are satisfied. We're very happy. We're very excited with one mitzvah we do. So too, God forbid, a person's sick, the Chaman sign should be happy you can do one mitzvah. And if you can accomplish that one mitzvah, he should be happy. He should be satisfied. That's what you say in your Haggadah. You say Dayenu. Dayenu. He either has to realize that sure he wants to do more, and that's what we yearn for the coming of Mashiach. The Mashiach should come, we'll be able to do much more. But nevertheless, Dayenu. We are happy and satisfied with the mitzvah we do. Why? Because we realize that what a mitzvah is, what the power of a mitzvah is, what the power of a good deed is, that it's an unlimited power. It's an unlimited concept. It's not an aspect that you've done just like in the world a good deed. No, this is a gila lakus. This is a connection to God, which is infinite concept.
Does Israel today say Dayenu? We conquered the attack. Dayenu.
Yeah, that's that's never Dayenu. By a Jew is never enough. So I never understood why the Jews love Dayenu, but because I never just met a Jew that said he's Dayenu. He's happy with what he has. It's not the way. Yeah, we don't say that Dayen to ours. We say Dayen to if God took us out of Egypt, would he give us all the money? Dayen. I never heard of such a Jew. There's no such a Jew. I don't know what he's talking about. But talking about a very spiritual guy.
A different
era. Now we just like to sing the song, basically. So no problem. So that's the thing. So this refers to the release of the divine soul, the confinements of the body, the serpent's skin, in order to absorb into the unity of the light layer Ein Sof. And that's really what we're trying to do, is to be absorbed in the light of Ein Sof, to become part of God, through occupation of Torah and the commandments in general, and particularly through accepting the kingdom of the heaven during the recital of Shema. So that's it. You have a mitzvah. Every one of us has a mitzvah of Kriya Shema. The Shema. We say it twice a day at least, a minimum twice a day. It's an obligation to say it twice a day. And what is that mitzvah? Why are we saying the Shema? What are we trying to accomplish with the Shema? And in general, the concept of saying the Shema is what's called Kabbalas El Malchus Shamayim. Hear, O Israel, the Lord is our God, the Lord is one, is the concept accepting the yoke of heaven, which is the unbelievable mitzvah. Unbelievable concept in itself, if you understand what that means. If you understand what it means, acceptance, the yoke of heaven. It's like, we call it a yoke. A yoke is something that an animal, a cow, takes upon itself to do its labor in the field, right? Except an animal accepts upon itself the yoke. Imagine the animals went on strike, cows went on strike, and they maybe the cows didn't go on strike, and now we have mechanical animals. Now we have mechanical machines. They don't use cows anymore. But in general, when the cow in those days, the cows did the work in the field, they accepted themselves with a yoke. They understood that was their obligation. Their obligation was to plow the field. That was their obligation, and that was their purpose. They didn't sit there and argue and say, you know what, we're not going to do this. We need a union. We're going to unionize the cows, and we're gonna demand certain things that we need to have to be able to do what we're supposed to do. No, the cows accepted upon themselves the yoke. They did their job, and they did their job. They did their job. Like we learned a couple of weeks ago, the bees, right? We learned about the bees, what the bees give. And their life and their service, all for one third of a teaspoon of honey in their life. Okay, in the 6 to 7 weeks of life. So they do it without complaining. They do it with love. They do it with, I don't know if they do it with love, but they do it. They just do it. I don't know, but they do it. Whatever. They're not complaining. They're not complaining. They're not complaining. They're not complaining. Why? Because they accept it. They understand. They have no choice. So the difference between the bees and the animals is they have no choice, but we have a choice to accept the yoke of heaven. You don't have to accept the yoke of heaven. Nobody's forcing you to accept the yoke of heaven. That's why the Mishnah says in Pirkei Avos, you have two choices: accept the yoke of heaven, accept the yoke of the world. You have your choice. You want to accept the yoke of the world and take the yoke of the world upon you? Then the world yoke will also be upon you. The world will demand of you. You think you're going to live a life of total nothingness? The world's going to demand you things too. It's no, you know what I mean? So a Jew should accept himself the yoke of heaven. And if I accept himself the yoke of heaven, then that's it. Then whatever the Eibush says, I do. And that's a yoke. That's a Kabbalah El Shamayim. That is the statement that you say. Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad. The Lord is our God. The Lord is one. And V'ahavta Hashem Elokecha. I love the Eibush. There's nothing else. There's nothing else in between that. There's nothing else greater than that. And that's my free choice. And I give myself freedom by that. Because I do it on my own free will. I'm not a tzaddik. Wasn't born a tzaddik. I'm not a tzaddik. And meaning that I don't per se have this feeling on its own. Doesn't come a natural thing to me. This is not a natural response. This is something that I need to decide and to say it with truth. And therefore, most of us say the Shema. We don't even know what we're doing, right? Because we don't think about it, and we don't say, "Wow, this is Kabbalah El Machashayim. This is accepting the yoke of heaven." But that's what you need to really think about it. You need to understand that you're accepting the yoke of heaven.
Like marriage, you accept the yoke of.
It's more than that. It's much, much deeper than that. When a person explicitly accepts
between the Lord is the God, the Lord is
one, the unity of God. Look what it says. He says, look what he says. Let's live. When a person explicitly accepts and draws upon himself.
What's the connection between that and accepting the yoke of heaven?
Look, let's see. Let's read it. Read it. After that, we're going to explain it. No, look, he says further. He is unity, blessed be. When he says the Lord is our God, the Lord is one, it is previously explained that our God is understood to be the same way as the God of Abraham, and so forth, because he became nullified and absorbed in the unity of the light of insight. That's Kabbalah El Malchus Shamayim. Kabbalah El Malchus Shamayim is that my agenda and my purpose is to unify myself with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. I have no other thing else. There's no other purpose in this recital but to say that my love and awe of God is HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Nothing else. There is nothing else. And everything that I do in the world is all about this unity and nothing else. And that's unity. That's nullification. That's bittul. That's the whole concept, really, of not eating chametz. Not eating chametz is unleavened bread. Is to be nullified. Is to be humbled. Is to take away the leaven. To have a concept of bittul. To have a concept of self. Right? What is matzah? Matzah is flour and water. And we eat this flour and water as if this is the most tastiest thing we have ever eaten. And we're all excited and waiting to do this mitzvah of eating matzah, mitzvah Hashem. What?
Amazing cardboard.
Yeah, unbelievable. Most expensive cardboard you ever
Very
eat.
expensive.
But we're excited to do the mitzvah and Jews. What? You can't do that at the Seder. You can't put any butter at the Seder. So therefore you come at the Seder, you eat the matzah, and you eat it because that's a mitzvah, and you do the mitzvah because that's what the Eibishter wanted to finish. And that shows on bittul what the Eibishter wanted. That God wanted, and that's it. So therefore a Jew says Shema, and therefore the truth is every mitzvah, and Chassidus explains that there are 3 levels in every mitzvah. We know there are 3 kinds of mitzvahs. There's a Torah. There's a mishpatim. There's a law, the basic laws of man and man, which seemingly have reason. And then there's a chukah, that is a decree. And as Rashi says, what means a chukah, a decree, a statute, is something ein lach l'shus lahalacha. You don't have the right to contemplate it. You have no right to argue with it. And then there's an edus. There's testimonies. It's an interesting thing Usually in the regular way we learn halacha, learn Torah, is that the chukah is the highest. Chukah, the chukim, the decrees are the highest level. The chassidus actually, the edis are the highest level. Because a witness, what's the difference between a judge and a witness? A judge has to comprehend what's happening, even if he didn't see it. Actually, a judge is not allowed to see it. But a witness testifies something that nobody knows. You don't have to have witnesses for something that people know. You don't have to have witnesses that it's daytime right now. Right? There's no worth of their testimony because everybody sees this daytime. Witnesses say something that nobody knows. And if the witnesses wouldn't have said it, maybe nobody would ever know about it. So an aid, an aid reveals something. An aid reveals something that would never been known, whether intellectual or above intellect. This thing would never been known. It's not all about intellect. An aid says something that happened, whether it makes sense or it doesn't make sense. Yidden are Adim. That's Shema Yisrael, right? Shema Yisrael, Hashem Ekein, Hashem Echad. If you look in the Shema, the letter Ayin is big, and the letter Dalet is big. What does that mean? Testimony. A Yid testifies to something. He's not there to, even though a Yid is mishpatim, he's there to explain something. He's maybe even there to reveal something that's greater than an explanation. But ultimately, a Yid is a testimony. He basically expresses the concept of godliness, and that's it. That's Kabbalah Malach Shemayim. That's the concept of accepting Yocheved, that you're a testimony to something that what is it? So Chassidus, we learned in the beginning of Tanya, you have the concept of Oir HaMamala, the way the Eibishter fills the world, the way the Eibishter comes into the world. You have Oir HaSoviv, the way the Eibishter encompasses the world. Then you have Atzmus, the essence of God. So a mishpat, a law in the Torah is something that the Eibishter you can comprehend. A chukah is the Oir HaSoviv, the way the God encompasses the world, to above our comprehension, even though there is a comprehension, but it's above our comprehension. And they have atzmus the way it is. It is because it is. So in every mitzvah, we can express these three things. Most of us love a mitzvah that makes sense. We try to rationalize every mitzvah, and some of us might even say that we do a mitzvah because God said so. And that's also some kind of rationalization. That's because we're Jews, when God says so. God says so. It says in the Torah, what should I do? I understand, I don't understand, God says so. But really, a Jew should do a mitzvah because he reveals, that's why you look in Tanya, you'll see the Alter Rebbe says it over and over, you should do a mitzvah because it's revelation of God. It ain't safe. Has nothing to do with me. I would never be able to do this thing if the Eibishter didn't say he reveals himself. There's nothing rational. There's nothing in my capability, whether it's it's above me or within me, greater than me, or there's nothing that can reveal godliness if the Eibishter doesn't want to be revealed. And that's what it is. And that's an aid. An aid says something what is. That's why it's the worst thing in the Torah to be a false witness. Because here you're supposed to say something what is, and it's a lie. It wasn't. That's why the halacha says, how can you say Krishma if you're not wearing tzitzis? You're testifying. With the Isma, you say you'll see him, and you're not wearing the tzitzis. That's a contradiction in the testimony. That's a contradiction in your testimony. If you're testifying to something and it isn't, you're not wearing the tzitzis. Some people say you're saying testimony somebody else is wearing tzitzis. But the truth is, how does a Yid say the halacha says? How does a Jew, a man especially, that's supposed to wear tzitzis, and then he comes to the Shema and he talks about the tzitzis, and not wearing the tzitzis? It sounds like he's testifying as something that is not there. And that's a lie. So you're a false witness. So Yid needs to testify, you're an aid, Kabbalah Sel Malchus Shamayim. That's why an aid is Kabbalah Sel Malchus. Aid not supposed to say anything. He's not supposed to give you the reasoning, explain the situation. That's not an aid. An aid is supposed to say what happened. He's not there to give you, like the news today, it tells you commentary. It gives you, tells you what it means. That's not your job. An aide is supposed to say what he saw. Testify what you saw. What happened? Nobody was there. You were there. What happened? That's it. Don't give me commentary. Don't give me explanation on why it happened and why you think it happened. That's the judges. That's the judge's job. That's what the Gemara says. Ein aid nasa dying. An aid can't become a judge, and a judge can't become an aid. They each have their own job. So a yid has to be an aid. Atem aidai expression is the Torah says, "You are my witness. You are my witnesses." A yid is a witness. That what? That is a God in the world. That is an Eibush in the world. Why? Because we connect straight to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. We have nothing in between. We're not looking for any intermediaries. We're not looking for any other thing. We're not even looking for ultimate own rationalization. We're looking to be an aid. That's Kabbalah's El Malchus Shamayim.
But we don't always.
What?
There's a simplicity.
There's total simplicity because Atzmus is above any complications. When you go to Atzmus, there's no concept of thought or simplicity. Pshitus. That's why the Baal Shem Tov said the greatness of a Pashut Yid. A Pashut Yid, a simple Jew, is much easier to connect to the essence than a sage, because sometimes wisdom gets into the middle of this simplicity. Because wisdom demands knowledge. Knowledge is not so simple.
We don't always accept this.
That's why we have two eyes. We have two witnesses. That's why God created two eyes.
But we demand.
No, but I understand. We're not talking about that. But in a human being, he has two witnesses. He has his two eyes.
Right eye
And left eye, he has his two eyes. And they're the witnesses. That's it. So they're his witnesses. That's what your witness. That's why the Eibush created you with two eyes. Because that's what your testimony is. And that's why the Torah says, when a Jew, when the Eibush is demanding on a Jew that he should not just hear what God said, you should see it. You should be a witness. Right? Because even in the civil law, hearsay is not a witness. I heard this happen. You can't say testimony. You have to see it happen. The Eibush wants that a Jew should be able to see it happen. And the way you see it happen is when it's simple to you. That's the way it is. It is what it is. Just like God is what he is, not because of anything else. So too, things are the way it is. Which is a very difficult thing for a human being to even say, to even express that. But that's the beauty. I was thinking, the Rebbe's birthday this week, and when you were standing by the Rebbe, I was telling somebody yesterday, standing by the Rebbe, everything was simple. When you're standing by a tzaddik, everything is simple. Every problem was made simple. Right? So you went to the Rebbe, he gave you an answer and finished. It was simple. You thought you're having this major dilemma. He said, do this, don't do that. That's it. End the story. When you came back to the Rebbe, he said, with the same question, I answered you already. What are you asking me again? I gave you the answer already. What's the problem? It's been accomplished already. I already gave you the answer. So what are you making? What's the question? So that They're not closed, they're sitting in the hallway there, that's a problem.
You're behind the door.
Yeah, no, they're in front of the door.
You can't see the,
There's a
he's
guy.
waiting to connect.
Okay, what you do? We're not, they can't open it, whatever.
I can understand.
So that was ultimately we learned from Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. That they just followed, they had Kabbalah soil, they accept the yoke of heaven. That's it. They said Hineni. That's the expression of Hineni. Here I am.
Yet, learning is complicated.
Right. Because ultimately we need to learn too. But we cannot let the learning make the way we live our life complicated. No, we are complicated people. But ultimately, we need to have Kabbalah soil. We need to have all three levels. That's what that's what I'm saying. You need all three levels. You need Mishpat, which is a concept of learning, understanding. You need to understand that even when you understand, there are things you won't understand. Maybe it'll take you time to understand. That's the next level. Chukah. Not everything is understandable at the right time. Things take time to understand. And then ultimately, you need to be simple. Atmos. That's what it is. That's what it is. That's it. You're a witness. You're not here to give. You're not here to give. You're not here to give interpretation. You're not here to give explanation. You're here to give testimony. Are you a witness or are you a judge over here? God wants you to be a witness in many things. So previously explained that our God is sort of the same way as the God of Abraham and so forth, because he became nullified and absorbed into the unity of the light of insight. Blessed be he, except that Abraham merited this by reasons of his works and his advance in holiness from degree to degree, as written, and Abraham journeyed, going on and on. So that's the difference. Abraham was not commanded. He had no mitzvahs. That's the difference. So that's why it's the greatness of Abraham, that he journeyed on his own. In our case, however, it's the heritage and a gift that he has given us, his Torah, and has clothed in it his will and wisdom. Blessed be he which is unified with the essence and being. That's the greatness. That's the difference. So we don't have to be Abraham. Abraham had no commandments. He developed his relationship with HaKadosh Baruch Hu on his own, through his own journey in life. And he went from level to level in his journey of life. But we are given Neisein HaTorah, the Eibishter gave us the Torah. And just by learning Torah and doing this mitzvah, we connect to this concept. Thus, we're in perfect unity. And surely that he gave us his very self, as it's written, as it were. In this sense, the Zohar comments in the verse, they bring me an offering. The expression li, to me, has the same meaning as oisi me. V'yikchu li, they take me. So hence, the text should have read me and the offering, except that both are one and the same. Study it well there. Alter Rebbe says, study it well. You'll see that what the Zohar is trying to tell you. The Zohar is trying to tell you when you do a mitzvah, when you do the mitzvah, you're taking God's essence. That's what you're doing. Not that you're doing something for God. In essence, by doing the mitzvah is taking godliness in its essence. Taking godliness in its essence. That's what you're doing. And not that you're doing something for God. That would be v'yikru litruma. That would be equal loy. It would actually be loy. Take to him. That means that there's the mitzvah and there's God. But here the kuli, the Torah says, "V'kuli, you take me." The mitzvah. That's why the it says in the Pirkei Avos, "Schar mitzvah mitzvah." The reward of the mitzvah is the mitzvah, because doing the mitzvah, doing the God's will, that is God. That's it. There's no separation. There's no separation between these concepts. That's a rotzen, as the Alter Rebbe expressed itself over and over, that every mitzvah is the rotzen and the will of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Who Ritzaini Echad, the Eibishter, and his will is one. So it's a whole different reality. So the concept of Matan Torah, that's what it says. That Ein Loch Ben Chayrin, there's no free person. The only person that connects himself to Torah is a free individual. Chayrus has true concept of freedom. The Abishta gave us the capability, simply the capability to be free from all constraints of world, from all constraints of reality. This is the interpretation, and you, Lord our God, has given us in love. And by the light of your countenance, you gave us, Lord our God. Therefore, the only thing that precludes us from the attachment of the soul to his unity and life, blessed be he, is the will. That is, if a human being does not will it at all, God forbid to cleave. That's the difference. So what separates me from God is my will. That's the whole thing. I'm in gullus, my own exile, not wanting to express my true will. Is basically the concept that is separating myself. If I will have the will, but immediately he does so desire and accepts and draws upon himself his godliness, blessed be he, and declares the Lord is our God, the Lord is one, then his soul is spontaneously. The Alter Rebbe tells you how to go out of gullus. Alter Rebbe tells you how to go out of your exile. And that is pashut. When I say the Shema, I should simply accept himself the yoke of heaven. I should say it, and that's why you have to have kavanah. It's one place in the Shema, in one place in davening, where a person has to have kavanah, intention. He has to understand what he's saying is the Shema. That's why on Yom Kippur, when you say the Shema at the end of the services by Kol Nidre, not Kol Nidre, at Nila, it says within the top. Arizal says you have to be ready to give away your life. You should have, when you say the Shema at that time, you should be ready to give away your life. Why? Because that's really what the Shema is. Kabbalah Seil Mach Shemayim. Kabbalah Seil Mach Shemayim is that God comes first. That's it. There's no equality between me and God. There's no concept that we are both equal. We both have an opinion. There's no two opinions.
We're part of God.
And more than that, because the part of God is a nice word. Kabbalah Samak is accepting the yoke of having bittul, total nullification. Now the truth is that to have total nullification on a constant basis is impossible for most of us. And therefore, you have to have a moment of total nullification. Torah demands on a Jew to have a moment, right? How long does it take you to say the Shema, especially that statement, Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad, the Lord is our God, the Lord is one. How long does it take you to say that? It takes you not even a minute. It takes you a second. So you have a second. Now the question is, then you're a second at tzaddik. But the Gemara says, if somebody gets married, and under the chuppah, he says, and I'm marrying you on the condition that I'm a tzaddik. Right? So we know, so there's a big question in the Gemara, is the kedushin, is it a good marriage? Because it was on a condition that it's tzaddik. And we know that he wasn't a tzaddik before he got married. And we know that he's not a tzaddik after he got married. So we know him. He's a bum. So the question is, okay, he's not a bum. He's a Beinoni. We know he's not a tzaddik. So the question is it a good marriage? And the answer is, the Gemara answered is a good marriage. Because you can be a moment tzaddik. There's no concept that you have to be a tzaddik. Or even you could be a tzaddik for longer maybe than a moment. The question is, can you be a moment tzaddik? Here, halacha tells you that you can have 2 moments a day that you can be a tzaddik. The Eibusha gives you the capability when you say the Shema 2 moments a day. 2 moments in your day, in the morning, in the afternoon, you can push it, be a righteous person. You can simply, if you had the right intentions, and you for that moment, even though we know what you did before the Shema, we know what you can do after the Shema, but that moment that you said the Shema and you said it with Kabbalah, so you said it that you're ready with Kavanah, you're to connect. That's it. There's nothing for this moment. What's going to happen the next moment? I don't know. This moment,
That little ruach.
I got no ruah. This is simple. This is very,
Simple.
very focused, and there's no jokes. And I'm focused, and that's it. So you become a tzaddik for the moment. So if a person tells you can't be a tzaddik, that's a lie. Maybe he couldn't be a tzaddik for his lifetime, but he could be a tzaddik every day, twice a moment. You can go out of Mitzrayim every day, even for a moment. That's the question. Can you go out of Mitzrayim, constraints of your life, for one moment?
Why don't we acknowledge that we actually say Shema 3 times a day? Because
We say it more than
twice
3
in the
times a day.
morning.
We say it more than 3 times a day. We say it 4 times a day. It's okay.
So I mean.
I'm the obligation to say it twice a day.
Okay.
In the morning and the evening. You want to say it 10 times a day, you can say it 10 times a day. But we say it 4 times a day. But actually,
Yeah.
I say it 5 times a day. So I say it 3 times in the morning and twice at night. So I'm saying it 5 times a day. But that's if I had kavanah. I didn't say I had kavanah. I could be a tzaddik 5 times a day. And I should be a tzaddik 5 times a day. That's it says, if you have no kavanah in the Shema, you have to repeat it. So really, you need to have, the Eibishter wants every Jew to be a tzaddik, which means to be free from all constraints of life. 5 times a day, twice a day. A minimum of twice a day. So could you do it? Yeah, every Jew could do it. Well, it's not a hard thing to do. Because no obligation. It's in your mind. Right? There's no obligation, nothing, you're not doing anything. You're basically accepting it upon yourself, the yoke of heaven. Now the question is, in 10 minutes later, you can really accept the yoke of heaven? I don't know. But right now, if a Jew accepts upon himself the yoke of heaven, and he does it with total kavanah, that he's accepting upside, then you're tzaddik. At that moment. And therefore the marriage is a marriage, because maybe at that moment under the chuppah he did tshuva. And then therefore, al pi halacha, the marriage is a marriage.
So you're in talis, you're in tefillin. How can you not have kavanah at that moment?
It's happy. You could have kavanah. No, because your Yetzer Hara comes right away into you. It says, no, think about this, think about that. They'll say it quickly, whatever. Don't think what you're saying. Yetzer Hara, don't worry, trust me. My Yetzer Hara knows exactly what to do.
What it's doing.
He knows exactly how to, yeah. He knows exactly how to direct my kavanah to something else, or not to have. Because again, we're looking at kavanah l'shem shemayim, not kavanah. I'm thinking about that I'm accepting upon myself the yoke of heaven, and that's it. That what means accepting myself the yoke of heaven? That I to mavata myself, I'm nullifying myself to what the Eibishter wants, and that's it.
Don't accept the yoke of heaven.
No, I could have put tefillin because that's what I did always. I do it always. Yeah.
Maybe.
I think it's a good thing to do. Whatever. Yeah, most of us don't. What are you laughing for? I'm talking to the guy over here. He's laughing. So that's the way it is. We're machines. We put on tefillin or whatever. Accepting yourself the yoke. That's why actually tefillin, Shema said the tefillin. What's Shema said tefillin? Shema, tefillin is the concept of mind and matter, that we give over our heart and our mind to God. And that's why they say the Shema when we put on tefillin. We always say the Shema. Why? Because the point is that a Jew says that everything that I have, my heart, my mind, that's it. It's given over to that point. I'm not here to do more than to give over myself to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. That's it. The problem is that when you're in slavery, you have other obligations. You have other things in the world you're responsible to, whether it's to the pharaoh, to your wife, to your children, to money, to your health. A lot of things we're responsible to. And they conflict with this statement. They conflict with this statement. And can you, for a moment, have no confliction with the statement? Because the truth is, if you understood the statement, then there's nothing in the world that conflicts with this statement. There's nothing. There's no tsar, there's no pain, there's nothing. That's what is the thing that the Shema always represents? There's a Jew walking into the gas chamber, right? With the Shema. Why do we always connect the two together? Because when a Jew says Shema, it's irrelevant. There's nothing conflicts with the Shema. There's why nothing people don't realize why it doesn't conflict with the Shema. People think because it's a nice statement. No, because the Shema is Kabbalas El Malchus Shamayim. Because the Shema is accepting yourself the yoke of heaven. And when you accept yourself the yoke of heaven, in truth, there's nothing conflicts. Life, death, happiness, sadness. It's irrelevant. It's not relevant. It's not relevant. It's not relevant. What's relevant is Kabbalas El Malchus Shamayim. Accept the yoke of heaven. There's nothing relevant anymore. It lost all its relevance. It's a very high level. It's a very high concept because it's nice said, but ultimately things are relevant. And that's why when the Rebbe would say, when a person is in Tzar, he right away says Shema, say the Shema. That's why when you're in Tzar, when you have a conflict, scream out the Shema. What's the Shema? It says nothing relevant. The Eibush is relevant, everything is irrelevant. That's Kabbalah Selma, that's freedom. That's why Shema is connected. Yetzias Mitzrayim is in the Shema. Really, the Gemara says, what is Yetzias Mitzrayim doing in the Shema? Because they're connected. Going out of Egypt is Kabbalah Sel Malchus Shamayim. Is accepting self the yoke. Because once you have that understanding of what means that I accept on myself the yoke of heaven, everything is irrelevant. So there's nothing challenging me in life at all. There's nothing challenging me in life at all. And halavai that I can have many moments of the Shema every day. You're right. You should say the Shema maybe we should say the Shema more times during the day. But at least I need to have in the morning, in the morning I have the Shema. It gives me my day. It tells me, this is your day. Your day is godliness. And therefore, that's it. There's nothing to worry about. There's nothing that can challenge a Jewish Shema. There's nothing that can challenge a Yid Shema. There's nothing in the world that can challenge. There's nothing that should challenge. Because if a Yid's ready to give his life up with the Shema, so why? This is a challenge. Anything else in the world is a challenge. If you're ready to give up your life with the Shema, that this is not working out, or that's not working out, or this person angry, that is a challenge. That's a joke. So that's it, right? Because nothing challenges the Shema, nothing, and that's why even Yetzer Hara can't challenge the Shema. Even my evil inclination can't challenge the Shema, because what is my evil inclination to the Shema? Garnished. What does the inclination do with my Shema? It can't affect my Shema. If I say it's self and super kavana, if I had the intention of Kabbalah Sel Malchus Shamayim, I didn't have other intentions. That's why you should realize that the ultimate intention and all the understandings that you're having, Shema, understanding God and love of God, the concept of the Shema is Kabbalah Sel Malchus Shamayim, accepting self the yoke of heaven. That is the real concept of the Shema. That there's nothing, there's only one unity. That's Hashem Echad. There's only one unity in the world between a Jew and God. Nothing else is unity. Everything else is disunity. Everything else is disunity. So what do I care about disunity when I have united with God? So therefore, what is everything else? All disunity, darkness, headaches, all of it is irrelevant to this unity. And therefore, I'm an aid to this unity. I'm a testimony. I'm a witness to this unity. Don't tell me what's happening in the world. Don't tell me the negative that's going on. It doesn't interest me, because either it's connected to this unity or not. That's irrelevant. It's a very deep concept, but here the Alter Rebbe wanted that Pesach should not be you come to the Seder or a family gathering, another family celebration. No, Pesach is Yetzias Mitzrayim. Pesach is going out of Egypt. Going out of Egypt is eating matzah, which is the concept of humility, which is the concept of total humility. Kabbalas el malchus shamayim, accepting yourself the yoke of heaven. And that will give you freedom. That will give you freedom. If you can accomplish this, this will give you freedom.
That's an occupation itself.
Correct. Because ego doesn't give you freedom. Ultimately, as the Rebbe explains, you're going to come, in Shavuos, you'll come to the Matan Torah to give you the Torah, which will give you understanding, but it needs to be based on the concept of matzah, right? The whole concept of going out of Mitzrayim is he should receive a Torah, which is intellect, chokhmah, but the foundation is matzah. The foundation is bittul. That's why you need to come to learn to the Torah also with bittul, with shittus, with simplicity. Don't come to the Torah as a great sage. Come to the Torah as a simple Jew. Tzaddikim, Talmidei Chachamim, come to the Torah as a simple Jew, as a student. A lot of people that are not students, they come to the Torah as a teacher. They think they think they're smarter than the Torah. They think they're smarter than God. They can outrun him. They lose their simplicity. They lose their pshittus. They lose their humility. Which then you lose your Kabbalah. The hardest thing that a human being deals with is ego. Thinking that he's, and that's slavery. That is total slavery. It's sad. And we all go through it, myself and everybody else. So you can give drushes. You can give big drushes. The question is if you can live by it, by your drushes, by your speeches. Right? So Alavaya can live by my speeches. I wish I could live by my speeches. You'll go through the same struggles. I have the same struggles like anybody else. And what's my struggles? My yesh is my own ego. And I know it's detrimental. My ego is detrimental to me. And therefore, I need to eat matzah every year, which I don't like. I'm not a matzah eater.
Cream cheese.
No, you're not allowed to eat matzah, cream cheese, and anything. You have to eat the plain matzah.
You have to have it
Plain matzah.
because you're afraid that it's water and the cream.
No, because I need bittul, because I need to have humility. I need, you see, you can eat matzah and cream cheese because you are bottle already, but I need humility. I need
That's why all your stuff low.
yeah, that's it. It gives me ego. I've now brought eggs in it, and I made it juicy. I made it delicious. That's it. I missed the whole point. I'm supposed to have a little bit of matzah, humility.
But on the eighth day, you don't have to have it anymore.
Not anymore. After 7 days, humility is enough. I'm soon going to break myself. it's gonna bust. Actually, I don't like matzah, so I think I don't like matzah in general because I don't like humility. Who wants to be humble? That's why it's difficult. This thing, the Shema and Kabbalas El Malchus Shamayim, is not an easy thing. It's a nice Kabbalah accept the yoke of heaven is a nice statement. Question is, can you do it? And the smarter you are, or the smarter you think you are, the harder it is to do it. So if I would Taka thought I was not so smart, it would be easy for me to do, but I think I'm smart. And then it's harder for me to do. It's harder for me to do. So, but we need to do it. And that's why you say the Shema twice a day, at least twice a day. You need to say the Shema twice a day to remember. And that's what the Alter Rebbe says over here also in this chapter. You need to feel like you're going out of Mitzrayim every day. Because if not, you missed the point. You lost the boat. You're going to have a harder
Can I
day.
ask you a question?
Yeah.
Well, because
Yeah.
could you give us a definition of ego and a definition of humility, please?
A definition of ego is I think that I'm in control. That I can control it. I don't need the Abish's help, God forbid. But I'm in control. I know how to deal with it. I can control it. And the truth is, I can't control it. I need God's help. And without God's help, I'm not going to be able to control it. And therefore, I humble myself and I give myself over to what God wants. And that's the aid of the mitzvah, as I said before. That's the testimony. I'm not here to give you an explanation. To myself, I'm talking. I'm not here to be a mishpat, to understand the law. I'm not even talking about the greatness of God in the law, which is the chukkah, which is the decree. I'm here to testify. That's my job. Atem tia aid. Be a witness. Be a witness to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. That's it. Be a witness to what is, not to my own thing. So the truth is, even in a mitzvah that I do understand, and I have contemplation, that's the point of it. The point is that even a mitzvah that I do understand, and I have enjoyment in it, I should ultimately have a very simple reason why I do it. And that is to reveal godliness in the world. It's about God. Not about me, not about my understanding, but simple, bottle to the Eibishter. I want to nullify myself to God. I want to do it because of God. Imagine, for example, if you had a great relationship with, let's say, with a great person, like my father or the Lubavitch Rebbe. If the Lubavitch Rebbe would ask me to do something, I would do it because, wow, the Lubavitch Rebbe asked me to do it. No, I don't need to have a reason. I push it, can accomplish something for the Rebbe. And that was it. That's it. It's not about me. And the less, you see, why is Chabad in general around the world successful? Because they're doing it because of the Rebbe. That's it. If they're doing it for God, if they would have their own, if they would evaluate or have meetings or have board meetings, how to do it, they would never do anything. And that's the way it is, because we have meetings and the contemplation, how you do it. The Rebbe attitude was, as we learned one of the classes, the Rebbe attitude was you have to start with the end, right? And then you fill in the middle. It's the opposite that Rebbe had in the way the whole world works. First you decide what you're doing, and then it fills in the situation. You have to have the end point. The Eibishter gave you the end point. He gave you the end point. Now figure out how to fill it in. But the end point, that's God gave us. God gave us the end point. Mashiach, that's the end point. Mashiach, now let's figure out. But if you don't have the end point, then you never get there. We have to have the end point. The mitzvah is the end point. Now how to get there. But if you're going to start to figure out how to get there, then you're never going to get there. The mitzvah has to be done. Now try to fill in the middle. Okay? That's bittul. The mitzvah is going to be done, whether I understand it or not. That's the objective. End the story. Now fill in the middle. Instead of going the other way, I'll fill in the dots, and then I'll do the mitzvah. The mitzvah is going to be done. End of story. The sin is not going to be done. End of story. Now fill in the middle. I'm going to be happy, and I'll fill in the middle. How are you going to do that? But the end point is I'm going to be happy. Finished. That's the objective. The objective is I'm going to be happy. Now fill in how you're going to do that. Instead of trying to fill in the middle to get to happiness, you're never going to be happy. Bittul tells me the Eibush said I have to be happy, I'm happy. End the story. That's what's going to be. I'm going to be happy. How do you do that? You'll figure out you'll figure it out. You'll come up with some ways to get it. But if you don't have the end right now, so you'll never get to it. You'll never get to it. Bittul is I am nullified to the purpose. That's why I said every mitzvah has these three things. So that's why the most important thing is the adius. I'm an aid. I'm going to do what I have to do. But there's a lot in between. There's a lot in between. There's the world. There's myself. There's the issues. I got issues. I got problems. Okay, figure it out. That's why the Eibishter gave you a brain. Figure it out. But the action has to be done. That's it. It has to be done. By hook or by crook, as they say in America. It has to be done. If you never have that bittul to the Eibishter, it's very hard to fill in the middle. It's very hard. It's much difficult. If I'm bottled to the cause, it's much more easy to fill in the middle. I'm not saying you sometimes you don't, but because the cause has to be as I always say the example of the tightrope. The guy who walks at the tightrope, the pole in front of him is the objective. That's it. The second he loses the pole in front of him, he's probably going to fall. He's going to go through this tightrope, but the pole in front of him is the objective. That's it. The mitzvah in front of you is the objective. That's it. It's going to happen. You have to walk over mountains, fly over the world. It's going to happen. Right? You're going to go build a building, millions of dollars. You don't know how you're going to. That's the objective. And we'll fill it in a minute. We'll figure out how to fill it in. We'll figure it out. And Baruch Hashem, we figured it out. But if you don't have an objective, you're going to wait till all the money is there, and then you're going to do your objective. You'll never get there. Objective has to be clear to you as a witness. That's what it is. That's a witness. Witness is not there to tell you how it got there, how it happened, why it happened, where. The witness says this is what happened. This is what happened. A Jew says this is what happened. That's it. You want to go to figure out how it happened, we'll go to the Beis Din or have the court evaluate how did it happen. It's not my job. My job is this is what happened. I'm a testimony to God that God said this is what is going to happen. This is what's going to happen. That's why the Jewish people, that's why the Jewish people in throughout history says, "Shana B'Bit Shalayim." This is what's going to happen. Imagine Jews sitting 1,000 years ago saying, "Shana B'Bit Shalayim." It's not going to happen. He was in Russia. He said, nevertheless, this is the journey. The Shana Haba B'Yerushalayim. In the year to come, we're going to be in Yerushalayim. That is the objective. That's the objective. No other objective. The Shana Haba B'Yerushalayim. And because of that, Taka Lashon Haba to many Jews throughout history, Lashon Haba B'Yerushalayim. And it's still the same objective. Lashon Haba B'Yerushalayim. In the year to come, we'll be in Yerushalayim. Be'ezrat Hashem. And that's what's going to be. That's the objective. That's the objective. And we're never going to lose that objective.
Can I ask one more question, please?
Yes.
So so what you're describing, is that what it means with Nasa Nishma?
Yeah. That's Nasa Nishma, 100%. Nasa, that's the meaning of Nasa Nishma, 100%. Nasa is the objective. Nasa, what has to be done will be done.
What does that
Nishma,
mean, that word?
we'll worry about Nishma. We'll work it out. Nasa means what we will do. That's it. The objective needs to be done. That's the mitzvah. That the Yidden got it before they got it. They understood. They understood the objective. The Nishma, it was still in the Nishma mode. We're still trying to figure things out. But the Nasa is the Nasa. That's the testimony. That is the mitzvah. And Atem Tia Eideh, that is the Shema. Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad is that we testify to something. That's what it is. How it is, why it is, we'll work on it. Go sit and learn. Some people know more, some people know less, some people see more, some people see less. But everybody does the mitzvah. That's it. Every Jew does the mitzvah. Every Jew is doing the objective. And that unites the Jewish people. We're all doing the same objective. We're all trying to accomplish the same thing. And that's it. Someone's putting on tefillin this way, someone's putting on tefillin this way, of different minhagim. It's all the same objective. The objective is to do the mitzvah. How you do the mitzvah? You want to do the mitzvah this way, you want to do the mitzvah that way, you want to flip while you do the mitzvah, do whatever you want. You want to do it slow, you want to do it fast, you want to sit there and meditate for 10 hours, do whatever you want. Just do the mitzvah. That's the objective. That's the objective. That's what Chassidus says. If you have a guy who knows all the contemplations, spiritual understandings of the mitzvah, and doesn't do the mitzvah, and you have the guy who does the mitzvah, who did the objective? The guy who had greater contemplation, the guy who had great meditation? No. The guy who did the mitzvah, because that's the objective.
Okay, to Elliot. So he's putting on to tefillin, right? But let's say he doesn't say Shema with Kavanah, but the objective here was the tefillin, so he did that.
He did it. Good. 100%. He did the mitzvah. I'm not arguing with
So
you.
it doesn't nullify.
It doesn't nullify the mitzvah. But you know what's missing in the mitzvah? The concept the Kabbalah sale is missing, and that's the sadness. Because the Kabbalah sale is bittul. And without bittul, you're missing the objective of the mitzvah in a way. You're missing the true objective of this. Mitzvah is bittul. The mitzvah is the ratzon of the Eibush. That is the true objective in the mitzvah. So really, in every mitzvah, the true objective is God. That is the objective. That's the true purpose of the mitzvah. Why am I doing all these mitzvahs? Besides, they cost so much money, and the matzah is not so tasty either. Imagine I bring a bunch of people, fruit connoisseurs. I bring whatever these guys. I say, here, eat this matzah. This is and the guy says, I paid $46 for the pound. I'll say, what are you kidding me? You guys are nuts. This is not worth $46. This is not worth $1. And the truth is, if the Pesach, you can't get rid of the matzah. Right? Nobody wants to buy it. Right? They won't even give. I try to give people money to take the matzah. They won't take it.
Please, take my matzah. Anybody.
Right.
Please.
Have some matzah.
I got boxes.
And what pound of matzah?
That's it. So why? Because we do a mitzvah. That's it. We do a mitzvah. We do a mitzvah. We do the mitzvah. That's it. Because that is what we do. That's the truth. The truth is, we eat matzah because the Eibush said to eat matzah. Right. If the Eibush would say eat matzah with butter, that would make more sense. That would say, okay, that makes common sense. I'll eat matzah with butter. I'll eat matzah with jam, chocolate covered matzahs. That makes sense. You know, but regular matzah, why would I eat matzah? Has no taste, has nothing. So I eat it because it's a mitzvah. That's it. That's why some people, you should know, only eat matzah, even on Pesach, they only eat for the mitzvah. When they have to eat it, they don't eat the matzah whole Pesach. Not eat matzah. So they eat it for the mitzvah. Whatever. The point is, every mitzvah, everything that I do in life should be for its purpose. The real purpose is God. That's the objective, the aid, that I'm a Kabbalah Shemayim, that this is what God wanted. That's really the objective. And then I'll do the mitzvah. The second I start to work with other reasons, I might not do the mitzvah. I'm challenged. I might not do the mitzvah completely because I'm challenged. If I can always have that level of the mitzvah, I'm going out of Mitzrayim, I'm going out of my constraints, I'm going out of my limitations, because the truth is, when it comes to the objective, it's not important my limitations, not important my taste. If it tastes good or doesn't taste good, what's irrelevant? What's irrelevant if it tastes good or doesn't taste good? No relevance. That's the truth is that we eat, the mitzvah, the night of Pesach, is eating matzah and drinking wine. Those are the opposites. They're opposites. The wine tastes good. The matzah has no taste. And we do both. We do both. We eat matzah, we drink wine. I'm not arguing with you that it's important to have understanding. That's not my point. Self-understood. You should have a taste in Yiddishkeit. That's not my point. Whatever. I'm talking about wine. The mitzvah is to eat wine because the mitzvah is to have a taste. Ultimately, I'm not taking away that a Jew should not have an understanding in Torah mitzvah. That's not my point. We should 100%. You should have kavanah, and there should be understanding, and there should be contemplation, be joy. But the essence of the mitzvah is the matzah. The essence is God. It's not important in my taste. It's important the God that's in the taste. And we come to say that we do both. We eat matzah and we drink wine. That are opposites in this concept, total opposites in this aspect. And that's why the three matzahs are compared to the shlosh, to the aves. 3. It's chachma, concept of chachma is the maila min haseichel, and the four cups of wine is for the concept either for emois or in some aspect, or the 4 levels of redemption, 4 expressions of redemption. So you have both aspects. The Torah wanted both of these concepts in your life. That you should have the concept of something, because that's what it is. That's the matzah. No taste, no value. And something that has value. Good wine. Drink good wine on Pesach night. Tasty wine. Wine to get you drunk. So get a little tipsy. So you have to have both things. As I said before, every mitzvah needs to have all 3 things. Every mitzvah that you do and everything that you do, you're sitting and learning Torah now. Wow. Is that you should learn Torah to understand it. At the same moment, you should know it's the Ratzon, the Chachma, the Eibush. It's higher than understanding. It's the wisdom of God. So it's God. It has nothing to do with me. And that's what it is. That's the truth, what it is. That's the essence of what it is. Yeah, it's a beautiful concept. So the Alter Rebbe wanted a Jew to go out of Mitzrayim every day. The Alter Rebbe wanted a Jew to go out of Egypt, go out of his constraints, not every generation or every year, once a year on Passover. A Jew should go out of Mitzrayim every single day. And how does he do that? And that's what he says. What do you mean, how does he do it? He does it by saying the Shema. When he says the Shema, and he has at that moment acceptance, the yoke of heaven, he's gone out of Egypt. He's received his freedom. He not only received his freedom of his soul, he received his freedom of his body. Okay, we'll just end this chapter because we have to finish the chapter. That would be, I don't want to stop in the middle of a chapter, but immediately he does not desire, accepts it, draws upon himself. God is blessed to be. He declares the Lord is a God, the Lord is one. Then his soul is spontaneously absorbed in the unity, blessed to be. For the spirit evokes the spirit and draws forth the spirit. This is a form of exodus from Egypt. Therefore, it was ordained that the paragraph concerning the exodus of Egypt is read specifically during the recital of the Shema. Although the commandment by itself is not pertaining to the commandment to reciting the Shema as stated in the Talmud, the Gemara asks the question, what is Yetzias Mitzrayim doing in the Shema? The Gemara doesn't, like, the sages put together 3 chapters of the Torah written in 3 different places, and they put it together. So the first chapter and the second chapter make sense. They're almost similar in their context. And then the third chapter is not what the Gemara asks. What are you throwing the third chapter in it? Why are you putting the third chapter? And the Gemara answers because it mentions Yetzias Mitzrayim. The Gemara doesn't go on to explain what is the connection Yetzias Mitzrayim have to do with accepting yourself the yoke of heaven and yoke of mitzvah. The Gemara says, what's different in the first chapter and the second chapter? The first chapter is accepting the yoke of heaven. The second chapter, accepting yourself the yoke of mitzvahs. The yoke of mitzvahs.
You do this,
Right. To accept the old commandments. The third chapter, Torah talks about going out of Egypt. What does that have to do one thing to the other? And the Gemara doesn't answer. But the Alter Rebbe says it makes a lot of sense. Because going out of Egypt is accepting yourself the yoke of heaven. When a person wakes up in the morning and he says right away that I accept on myself the yoke of heaven, and he says it with true intent, he's freed himself. And hopefully this will help him during the whole day. And if he stayed at night, he frees himself again. And anytime you're inside, and anytime you're in a situation, say the Shema. Free yourself. How do you free yourself? You connect yourself to God, and that's it. So what's relevant? What is all these things relevant when I'm united with HaKadosh Baruch Hu? When I accept the yoke of heaven? What does all this have to do? Nothing. Likewise, the paragraph referring to the Exodus of Egypt also concludes, I am the Lord your God. That's why the last words in the third chapter is what? Going back to what is said in the Shema. Ani Hashem Elokeichem. This also accords with what explained earlier, and that's the famous 47th chapter of Tanya, which the Alter Rebbe tries to put everybody in the mode of what you're trying to accomplish when you're going to sit at a Seder, and you're going to eat the matzah, you're going to say the Haggadah, and you're going to drink the 4 cups of wine, you're going to eat the three matzahs, and then the maror. You're all trying to accomplish one thing. You're going out of Mitzrayim. You say it right in the beginning of your Seder. Hey lachmadid hashata avdin. Now we are slaves. We're going to be free. Shata hacha l'shana haba b'ardi Yisrael. Now we are in Galus. In the year to come, we're going to be free in Eretz Yisrael. And how do we end the Seder? L'shana haba Yerushalayim. In the year to come. And that's why Chabad, you should know, the Alter Rebbe, it's one thing in the Haggadah that we don't say that every other Haggadah says. Besides Chabad. At the end of the Haggadah, you say Chasal Siddur Pesach. And now we have ended, we have finished the Seder. And the Alter Rebbe took those words out of the Haggadah. His Haggadah. He says, no, we're not Chasal Siddur Pesach. We're not finished. Till Mashiach comes, we're not finished Chasal Siddur Pesach. Until Mashiach comes, this Seder is going to continue. This Seder is going to continue. It's going to continue every day. Hopefully every day you'll feel like you're going out of Mitzrayim. Because of this Seder, every day you'll feel like you're going out of Mitzrayim. Because of this Seder, because of eating this matzah, you'll realize that you know what? The Eibush is in control. That God is in control.
Until 49 days. At least it doesn't end.
No, it doesn't end till Lashon Haba B'Yerushalayim. Doesn't end till Mashiach comes. That's it. It doesn't end. Doesn't end. It doesn't end. Doesn't end. It continues to go every single day. It continues to go every day that the Eibush gives me the capability to go out of my personal gullus. That's what it is. There's a general gullus. There's the world gullus. And then there's my personal gullus. My personal exile, my personal confinement, my personal constraints, my personal situation. I have to be free. The truth is, you should realize that if you feel free, then even in a situation, you realize that's it. You're there for a reason. For whatever reason, you're in this situation. You're really free, but you're for whatever reason in this situation. There has to be a reason why you're in this situation. Not that you belong there, not that you have to be there, but you have to be there for a certain situation. The Rebbe said yesterday in Yom Yom that the Rebbe Rashab, the Rebbe Marash, the 5th Lubavitch Rebbe said, a place doesn't make a person makes a place. A place shouldn't make a person. The station in your life, where you are in life, doesn't make you. You make the place. Every situation, that's the difference. It says kaved. The Pharaoh, the Eibishter made his heart heavy, kaved. But the same word means kaved, means honor. The kaved of the place, the constraint of the place is there that you should bring it honor. You make the situation. I make the situation. Or the place makes the situation. The hardships of the place makes the situation. They wish to put me in this hard place, so I should bring it honor. I should bring honor to this place. And that's the obligation of a Yid, to take the hardship, covered the hardships of the Pharaoh. God hardened the heart of the Pharaoh. But the Eibishter wanted it to bring honor to the place. The Pharaoh would honor the Eibishter, self-understood. So the same thing, me. The Eibishter put me in a situation. The Eibishter put me in this place. Now, how am I going to bring honor? Is the place going to define me, or I'm going to define the place? That's freedom. That is true freedom. And the only way I can bring honor to a place if I realize it's Kol B'dei Shamayim, that the Eibishter put me in the place. God put me in the place. So if God put me in the place, it's surely there to bring some honor to this place. Freedom. We should all be free. I hope and I pray that through bring Mitzvah, we're not gonna learn next week and the following week, but through you'll come to your Seder, you'll sit at the Seder wherever you are in the world, and you'll all say together, we'll all, as Jews say, Salashana Babi Shalayim. I hope and I pray that through each and every one of us going out of their own galus, Eibishter will take out the world, the Jewish people from galus and the world from galus, and we'll all be in Eretz Yisrael. Hopefully, be this Pesach still will all be in Atzenu Akdosha with the coming of Mashiach and the making of the Korban Pesach in the Holy Land, the building of the third base of Mikdash b'Meheira b'Yameinu Mamish. I wish you all, those that come on Sunday to learn, I wish you all a wonderful and a beautiful kosher Feilach and Pesach. I want to remind everybody to sell their chametz. It's important. You can sell it online. Don't forget to sell your chametz during this week. Make sure you sell your chametz. If you're in Boca, you can come to Chabad and sell your chametz. Make sure you sell your chametz. God bless you all. Have a kosher.
Rabbi,